Welcome to the Reinvent Your Life podcast, the show that talks about why we do what we do and how we can do it better.
Welcome to the Reinvent Your Life podcast. My name is Chaz Molesky, and today we are talking about how to take control of your bad habits. And this is important because if you're anything like me, you have definitely had your share of bad habits in the past, and I think there was one time where I was trading bad habits every month, and I just couldn't get ahead of it. But there is a way to overcome your bad habits. So this is for anybody that's currently experiencing some habits that they would like to change, or anybody listening in that knows they are prone to developing bad habits. Maybe you don't have any bad habits now, but you know yourself well enough to know that in the future, there's a good chance that some will pop up. So this is the perfect episode for you. But before we get started, I want to reiterate, if this is your first time listening, or if you haven't been a member or part of the show at all, please go back, listen to the previous episodes. You're going to learn a lot of information. You're going to learn a lot of skills, and you're going to learn a lot of things about how you are, why you do the things that you do, how you can do things better, how you can improve your life, how you can improve your finances, your relationships, so many different topics. But you got to go and you got to listen. All right. So biggest thing here is education. Take this knowledge you're learning, take it and apply it, please. And as always, if you know of anybody that needs some help, or you know people that can benefit from this material, please share this with them. Let them know about the podcast. I'm trying to grow it as much as I can to get this word out to everybody so that I can start helping even more people in less time. So, going into today's topic, how to overcome your bad habits. The first thing you have to do is you have to identify which is a quote-unquote bad habit. And you'll know this one inherently, right? You'll have the mindset of, all right, there's that one thing that I do. This is usually the thing that you consistently do over and over again to the point now where you don't even realize that you do it. You know, a lot of people get stuck procrastinating, scrolling Facebook or Instagram, social media sites. That's one bad habit because it's preventing them from doing anything productive or something that, let's say they're working or they need to get some work done. They're unable to do that because they are putting themselves off. So they're actually getting more stressed because they're giving themselves less time to do the actual work, even though they have X amount of hours in the day. So an example of your bad habits is that it can be with food, it can be with health, it can be with just the way you think about yourself. There are many, many things that can contribute to a bad habit. So dig deep, think of a habit that you have that you'd like to change. And one of the habits that I had that I really wanted to change is I would distance myself in social settings because I had this little bit of anxiety. And the habit was, what would happen is I would go to a party. This was back in college. I'd go to a party and I would only find people that I knew, right? It's that social comfort thing. So I would go and I would only find people that I knew. And I would stay with them the whole time, the whole night. Even if they wanted to go somewhere, I was like that attached to the hip friend. It was not a good look. But additionally, on top of it, I would also frequently check my phone, check social sites, do all of that just to keep my mind disengaged from talking to anybody around me. I was afraid people wouldn't like me. I had a ton of social anxiety. So that was one of the habits that I really wanted to change, is that every time I went to a party, I was immediately looking for my own friends, my own people. I wanted to start meeting new people. So there's an example of a bad habit. So talking about changing it, the first thing you have to do is you got to identify that habit, or habits, multiple, right? What's the one thing that you would really like to change? Now, I will emphasize here, pick one. If you have multiple habits, pick one that you want to work on and focus on that one. There's a saying that says you cannot release two rabbits into the woods and expect to catch both of them at the same time. So you have to focus on one thing, one habit that you have, in order to change it. And you have to go at that with 100% of your focus. So let's pick one thing, find one habit that you want to change. Really think about it. And now with that habit, analyze your pattern. What do you do when that habit starts to arrive, right? So if it's hitting the snooze button in the morning, think about your pattern. What happens? Snooze alarm goes off, you roll over, you're fumbling around at the nightstand looking for your phone, your eyes are still closed, you click the silence button, it goes immediately to snooze, and boom, you're back asleep. And if you do that over and over and over again, your body learns, your mind learns, it's a habit. So now is the time that we think of how do we break this habit? What's something we can do to interrupt this pattern so we don't continuously do that? So if we're using this example of hitting snooze, you can put your phone out of reach so that you actually have to get up out of your bed to turn it off. That'll get the mind stimulated. It'll get your nervous system going. You won't be easily tempted to just roll over and fall back asleep. I'm not saying you won't go back into bed and fall asleep, but it'll make it that much more difficult, or it'll create that layer of separation that you can actually create some space for you to get up, wake up when your alarm goes off, and train your body that when that goes off, it's time to get up. All right. So that's just an example, right, of something you can do to break up that pattern, interrupt that pattern that's causing the habit. But the most important thing is, what is this habit doing? Because this is the root core reason for habits. What is this habit doing for you that's satisfying a need? So a lot of times our habits are born of an underlying need, something more. And this can result in, let's say you have a habit of eating junk food late at night. Well, it's probably feeding that need down at the bottom for a little bit of connection because you had a long day, right? Say you have a really long day at work, you come home, you have a long night with the family, you're exhausted, you're tired, you just feel so out of it, so disconnected from yourself, from just being a part of anything. So you turn on the TV to get a little distraction going on, and then you start eating. And then you start to feel that going through your body, right? And it feels good. You're getting some variety because you can change up what you're eating, especially if it's junk food, right? There's so many different flavors of things. Starts to give you those feel-good emotions, starts dripping down into you, right? Dripping from the brain. And then finally, once you get into that mode, you sink in, you get so comfortable, right? Oh, it feels good. And see how these habits just feed our needs. They feed these things inside of us that make us just feel better, right? They feel good. But it's insidious because they make you feel better in the moment. If it's a bad habit, if it's a good habit, that's great, right? It's probably a standard. It's a part of you. It's something you continuously do. But if it's a bad habit, what ends up happening is we start becoming addicted to our habits because they make us feel so good, especially if they're bad habits. That's how we start running them on autopilot, is we don't even consciously think about what we're doing when we're eating that junk food, or when we're hitting that snooze button in the morning, or when we're smoking that cigarette. We don't think about it. We just do it, right? We have these triggers that say, when this happens, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. When I get stressed, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. And then our brain learns, okay, you're stressed, time for a cigarette. There are patterns that we run. So the more and quickly you can identify these patterns, the easier it's going to be, or the simpler it's going to be to work on getting rid of that habit, okay? And then finally, the last phase of this, after you've gone through all of these and understood what those are, to break your habit or to get out of your bad habits, is you have to supplement a bad habit with a better habit. So let's say you smoke cigarettes. Let's say it's a pack a day, all right? Let's say to break that habit, in order to cut back, we're going to smoke one less cigarette for a week straight, all right? And we're going to consistently do that. And then the next week after that, we're going to smoke 2 less cigarettes. And you're going to eventually build yourself into a discipline of doing less of that bad thing. So the habit is going to be discipline. That is how you break bad habits, is with discipline. But you have to make discipline a habit. So that means consistently doing something over and over and over again to diminish the bad habit, to get rid of it, to slowly phase it out so you can make space for a better habit, or you can make space for something else. And this requires discipline, because when you're trying to change habits, everything is going to work against you to prevent you from doing that, because your body wants to keep it the same, right? We don't like change inherently. We get afraid of change. So if you're making a change, especially something as big as if you have an addiction or you have a different type of habit that's really always constantly on your mind, when that happens, you have to create space. And that comes through discipline, which means toughing out the bad times, toughing out the hard times where you just want to stop doing it, right? When you want to give in, you want to taste that delicious junk food, or you don't want to go to the gym, or you want to wake up and you want to think terrible thoughts about yourself. You want to look in the mirror in a certain way and do that same type of turn and twist that you look at yourself and it always makes you feel bad, right? You want to get on the scale every day that's not making you feel good. Whatever it is that's happening, whatever habit you have that is negatively impacting you, when you're going through this process, you're going to be challenged. So that's why you need to start flexing the discipline muscle. And that comes with doing something small to beat that habit every single day. And it does not have to be big. I encourage it not to be big, because the bigger jumps you take, the bigger the fall is if you miss. All right. So start small, start slow, but start being disciplined and stay with consistency to work out of the bad habits that you have so that you can replace them with better habits. So as always, if you have any further questions about this type of episode, please, or any other episode that I have, please send me an email, chaz@riseabovelifecoaching.com. I respond to everybody. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, same thing, Rise Above Life Coaching. And as always, take this information, use it, apply it, learn from it, develop, grow, and reinvent your life. Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to the Reinvent Your Life podcast. Now go out and apply what you just heard to start your reinvention. Please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with those that need it most.